Hi, Dan. Give me that again, George.
Is everything in the walls
Dr. Grady.
The place couldn't get along.
Go ahead.
How's that? Why are you sitting behind me? Just received word from Peggy Bard that it's time to begin. And so we must do that. Reminds me of that old E.F. Hutton commercial. When Peggy speaks, everybody listens. Welcome to the senior class banquet and to the awards convocation. So nice to see so many people here from both sides of the border this evening. I was asked to give a toast to the graduating class, and I was planning to make my remarks much longer, but in view of the fact that we're a little behind schedule, I've decided to cut them down a bit. What's this I hear? A sigh of relief? Actually, I decided I would cut everything I was going to say in half. Then I got to thinking, if I'm going to cut everything I'm going to say in half, I better ask you, do you want me to say the first half of the word or the last half of the word? Or maybe I could just cut the length in half. That means 28 pages divided by 2, 14 pages. That should be enough. Before we do the toast, are you all right? I'm not getting anything back from you here. I turned off on the screen. See, I told you you were sitting behind me. Can you hear me now? Before we do the toast, I have to fulfill a request. Someone wanted me to write a limerick for the graduating class. And of course, the message is in the last line, the final line, line number 5. All of the above. Got to get a number in there somewhere. So here is a limerick for the class of 96. Did you hear me now? There once was the class 96, a true international mix. You sometimes found cheer from a glass of cold beer, but it's from learning you get your real kicks. Hope you heard that. The word limerick makes me think of Ireland, so the toast tonight will be an Irish toast. I'm sure it's one you've all heard. I know Professor Grady can probably recite it from memory. But let me say this to the graduating class first. Tomorrow you'll receive your degrees and then you will depart. We who are left at UMFK are in hopes that you will keep in touch. We know from experience, there is the occasional postcard, or perhaps a short letter, or a phone call asking for a grade change. But we hope that we will see you again. We will see each other again. So tomorrow we won't say goodbye. We will just leave it at that. We will see each other again. So the more appropriate word would be au revoir. So with that in mind, here is the Irish toast. Is everyone prepared with your glasses? All right. To the class of 96. You students are good at holding glasses on you. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. The sun shine warm upon your face. The rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Cheers. And au revoir. Now I have the privilege of introducing the next speaker. He is my colleague, my office companion. What else should I say? My colleague, my office companion, and chair of the faculty, Professor John L. Martin.
I was hoping that Professor Elliott would talk about the time that Dr. Morey used to be our partner up there, and when the phone would ring and they would ask for John, he would say, "There are three here, John Martin, John Elliott, and the John." Thank you, Professor Elliott. By the way, Professor Elliott forgot one thing to send back in addition to notes, etc., and that's the check for as an alumnus of this institution. Don't forget that. No one. Do we want to take contributions later? Let me just say, as chair of the faculty at the University of Maine at Fort Kent, it's my pleasure to give the address tonight to the graduates, and especially to the graduates that are here. Of course, you are the reason we're here. We want to welcome, on your behalf, your friends, your parents, wives, husbands, and whatever. I thought that I was going to speak about 15 minutes, but sitting next to ZB, she said, "That's not the length you need to speak. That's the maximum of time you have given tonight, and so I will keep it briefer than that in her name." In addition, you might be surprised about the subject I've chosen to speak about tonight. Something I've never spoken about before, politics. And I want to begin with a quote from Thomas Jefferson in a letter that he wrote in 1787 to James Madison. And say finally, whether peace is best position of government, educate and inform the whole mass of the people. On their good sense we may rely with the most security for the preservation of due degree of liberty, unquote. A lot of things have changed since that was written, especially in the United States and Canada. The system that was created here, created by the earlier politicians, was to build a representative system based on the geography we had, the slow and difficult communications available, the poor travel, and little access to information. And so the system was designed to keep the bulk of the people out of decision-making, since they had no way to get the information or to acquire the knowledge or perhaps even to understand the issues at hand. But today, we live in a different world, with distances in transportation, communication no longer a problem. Can you imagine having to wait 3 to 4 days for a courier from Portland or Bangor to bring the daily newspaper to Fort Kent? You may have gotten the news, but you didn't react to it. There was no need to. It was now, at that point, history. I do admit, even today, it takes a little while to get the New York Times to Fort Kent. But we do get the Bangor Daily, if we want to call it a paper. Today, we have a vast pool of angry middle-class people. About 100 million families earning between $25,000 to $100,000 a year. They've been drained of the security they thought they had, both economic and personal, and the confidence in the system is gone. And so what you have today is distrust and distaste for politicians and political parties that seem to push people to do it themselves. The U.S. government, controlled by the nation's bipartisan economic and political establishment, acting within the two parties, and their office holders have effectively violated their contract with the people. But the truth is today, in my opinion, that Americans have no one to trust but themselves if they want to. And frankly, that engine that they will need could well be government. Government is not inherently the problem. It is who controls the government and for what purpose. Many in this room have heard me say that we do not live in a democracy, but in a republic, a representative form of government. What we did learn in the 80s was that government could work. We saw an impressive range of creative responses to public needs. Employment and training for welfare mothers, school-based health and social services, health care through the AFDC program for children. Success in the public sector depends on skillful executives, and executives, frankly, are the key to innovation. Management will make the difference between success and failure. Today, I'm not going to attempt, and nor do I have the time, because CB says I don't. I will not give you my entire discourse on the new government, but will let me give you a few hints of what needs to happen. Voting and voters must be obliged to seek consensus rather than conflict, to listen to one another rather than shout past each other, to behave as public citizens rather than cost-benefit taxpayers, to look forward as a community, to make choices of long-standing common interests, to understand that all citizens must become experts, to give citizens to be objective in order to look long-range rather than look for the short-term results, to emerge at long-term and long-standing values that embrace the future, and finally to balance the economy and the environment. All of that will lead much more to direct democracy than the republic that we have. This new system brings with it civic education, mutual public respect, and personal political responsibility that frankly adds up to civic virtue. Ordinary men and women accepting accountability for their actions are going to be necessary to achieve this. Let me close with two quotes, ZB. One from a book called Creating a New Civilization by Alan and Heidi Toffler. And I quote, "The responsibility for change therefore lies with us. We must begin with ourselves, teaching ourselves not to close our minds prematurely to the novel, the surprising, the seemingly radical. This means fighting off the idea as assassins who rush forward to kill any new suggestions on grounds of impracticability while defending whatever now exists as practical, no matter how absurd or oppressive or unworkable it may be. It means fighting for freedom of expression and the right of people to voice their ideas, even though others may think them stupid. If we begin now, we and our children can take part in the existing reconstruction of this country and others, not merely of our obsolete political structure, but of civilization itself." And for you, the graduates, I leave you with this quote. I have no idea who the author is. Probably me. I am only one, but I am one. I can't do everything, but I can do something. And what I can do, that I ought to do. And what I ought to do, by the grace of God, I will do. Thank you and congratulations. And now it's my pleasure to present to you the person who needs no introduction on this campus, the president of the student body, Chu Z. Chu?
Thank you very much. It's different from what I do. It's a great honor to speak at such functions. And since ZB has been quoted a couple times, I'm going to follow this tradition. And this speech is not going to be long. And I'm going to use the phrase that she described Amy Raymond last year, described my speech. It's going to be short, but sweet and powerful. And that's a nice phrase, I like it. And I just thought about it because I was here this time last year. This is the third time that I attend the graduation banquet. And probably this will be the last time that I attend such functions as a student. I have a mixture of feelings. It's a combination of happiness and a little bit of sadness. I am happy because all of us worked hard and put a lot of effort and get to this step, and by tomorrow we'll receive our degree. That's a good thing. And it's a little bit sad because, like me and some of us will be leaving. And we'll be leaving the one that we worked with, we lived with, and we loved, and we enjoyed behind us, and move on to a new life. So I think this would be a good opportunity for me to express some thanks on behalf of all the seniors to our administration, staff, and faculty members. Without your understanding, support, we would not have achieved so much. And I would also like to use this opportunity to thank the team that I worked with to set up the senior socials. And if I read your name, would you please stand? And I think they deserve a hand as well. Vice President Tony Gobert. Vice President Tracy Dunn. Tracy Dunn, I saw her. And Secretary Larry Papier. Treasurer Robert Ray. I also would like to thank the students who have helped us to serve tonight. And I think some of them are here, but not all. And for the one who's here, please stand, and you deserve it. I think it was Christy Cartier. She was serving coffee now. Jennifer Searlock, right there. And Chris Miller, I believe, and Shannon Harvey, and who else? Amanda Baker, Amanda's sitting right there, and Vicki Morton. I thank them as well. Lastly, I would like to thank my Canadian brothers and sisters who voted for me last year. I was grading their test right before the election. So. Anyway, they were asking me, I saw a couple of friends coming back for a visit, asking me whether I wanted for a second term. I said, this is the type of provision you do well and you leave. To my fellow classmates, I do have a couple of lines of some advice, I think, my experience as well. I always liked the movie The Forrest Gump, and we had similar stories back home in the early 1900s. It's a similar story. It's the spirit of Forrest Gump, which is not giving up. And Jim is looking at me. Maybe I'm fantasizing. Well, the line that I would like to quote is Forrest Gump's mom said, life is like a box of chocolates, and you never know what you're going to get. As of tomorrow, we will be stepping out of university and entering a larger and more complicated environment. So we shall be ready to face the new environment and meet the new challenges. There will be storm and there will be sunny. Also remember, there will be lots of blue skies ahead of us. So I wish you all the best. Thank you. Peg? Oh, Peg. Is it time for entertainment? Chuck and the boys.
And Scott is on his way up here. We're not going to do what we had originally planned due to some difficulties. Well, due to the fact that we're coming up on the celebration of the 150th anniversary of Longfellow's poem Evangeline, Scott and I were going to do the entire poem in pantomimic action. But we got into a terrible argument about who was going to have the right to play Evangeline, and David refused to have anything to do with the project, saying it was in extremely poor taste. So, and yeah, we did have that problem. So we are going to ask you to join us in the singing of the class song, which you will find on the yellow paper there. Very serious words. This is a very important ode, so please try to pronounce them. Now, you have to vote. I see. Oh, okay. Been holding it for years. Okay, the problem that we have is that we have over-rehearsed the song, so we need your help. If you don't sing, we'll quit. And that would mean we would be here several days. Please do sing with us. David has worked many hours on the accompaniment, and if at any time his hand leaves his arm, please, don't pay attention. Okay. To the tune of Sweet Betsy from Pipe. We're going to pick a key here.
Do you remember when you first arrived? An incoming class of 105, or maybe 100, or just 96. Well, some large old number, no decimal bits. Grand education from UMFK. Do you remember your first bite of lunch, or dinner, or breakfast, or Saturday brunch? You thought it was tasty, you swore it was meat. Just pray there's no truth to you are what you eat. The grand education from UMFK. Do you remember those bio exams? Your first vocabulary and social diagrams. That paper you worked on, not sleeping a wink, or watching a sea of corrected red ink. Grand education from UMFK. Do you remember that moment in class when the answer was clear and you knew you would pass? Or at least you were hopeful, you thought you might know the answer to 10 with just 90 to go. Grand education from UMFK. Do you remember the athletic teams? Winning the day on their hardcourt of dreams. Ranked first in New England the third time this year. More reasons in summer, more reasons to cheer. Education from UMFK. Do you remember the budget attacks? We worked to get downstairs off of our backs. We'll be better never, we'll be here a while. We don't want to be a small branch of Prescott. Education from UMFK. Do you remember what you were back then? How much you have grown, all the places you've been. Year after year, how your thinking's improved. You have your degree, now it's time that you move. Grand education from UMFK. So this is goodbye, take this bond fairly well. Remember to stand up wherever you dwell, and proudly recall that you came a long way. Your 4 years of study at UMFK. Please come back and see us next homecoming day.
Man, well, why? And now, as an added treat, if Professor Margie Terrell will come up. Margie has arranged for a traveling troupe of minstrels to entertain us this evening. I'll let her explain.
This spring semester, I have the distinct pleasure of teaching a French class called French for Faculty and Staff. We learned how to practice speaking French together, and we also learned a song. The name of the song is La Gomme, and it's about gum. For those of you who don't speak French, I'm going to tell you what it is so that you can understand that we're doing this for you. I'd like my French students to come up here, please. Now. They've all been looking forward to doing this tonight. There were 21 members of faculty and staff were in this French class. This song goes somewhat like this in English. It's not quite as good in English, but I'll do my best. If you want to chew some gum, go to the grocer and he'll give you some. Some gum, some gum, some gum. If you get tired of chewing the gum, put the gum on the bottom of your foot. Chew. Some gum, some gum, some gum. If you want to chew the gum again, take it off the bottom of your shoe. Some gum, some gum, some gum. We would like to sing that song for you now in French.
Si vous voulez marcher
Stunning display of talent. And now we're going to move into the presentation of awards portion. This is always the exciting part. However, first I'd like to say a couple of words. CB, is that okay? I'd like to thank first the graduates who have given us sometimes 4, sometimes 1.5 good years. I'd like to thank their parents for helping support them to come here and be with us. I would like to thank those members of our faculty and staff who are leaving this year. We thank you very much for your contributions to us. And I particularly like to thank those of us who will be staying to help build enrollments and quality next year. Thank you all. I would also like to give a brief review of some of the highlights of the year. Perhaps we ought to start with our review and reaccreditation by the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. Our next visit will be in the year 2005. We have received a you can't say anymore that we have received accreditation for 10 years. They don't do that anymore. All they do is tell you when your next visit will be, given that nothing changes. Okay. So I guess that's a clean bill of health, and we are thankful for that. The committee cited us for strengths: hardworking students, faculty, staff, administration, for our innovative teaching, for our commitment to professional development, for our pride in our physical facilities, for our strong sense of community, the work of the Acadian Archives, our relationship to the town, the region, and the state, our library automation system, and our fiscal management. And the consensus of the visiting team were we had done marvels with what we had to work with. I think that's a significant achievement. We once again went to the National Small College Athletic Association National Basketball Tournament, and we thank our basketball team for that. We were pleased to have the University of Maine System Board of Trustees reaffirm their commitment to our continuance as an independent institution, a vote of confidence. We provided the region with a first-rate production of Waiting for Godot and other cultural events. Those of you who saw Godot know just what I'm talking about. We received much positive feedback this year about the preparation and ability of students who were placed in internship, practica, and student teaching roles. We're very pleased with that. We have taught much and learned much. We have cooperated in the establishment of a pulp and paper technology program at Fraser Paper. We are moving out into the community. We have established a voice-activated system to enable students to register for classes in their homes or at the local payphone. We have attended many conferences and professional activities, delivered scholarly papers, wrote articles and books, expanded our statewide presence on the Education Network of Maine with offerings in nursing, behavioral science, and political science. All of these, I think, are significant achievements, and we ought to be proud of ourselves for doing them. And now to the awards. We'll start with the Student Senate Outstanding Senior Award. Will Amanda Barker, Student Senate Secretary, come forward?
The Outstanding Student Senator Senior Award is picked by the undergraduate members of the Student Senate. The criteria for the award are, first of all, academic achievement. The student that is picked for this award is a member of Alpha Pi and has demonstrated again and again its very strong academic strength. The other criteria for this award is community and campus involvement. This person has been a member of the Senate for 2 years and has been very active in all the activities that are put on by the Senate and in the activities that also take part on the campus. I was sitting next to this individual during supper, and he happened to mention his medallion. He said that it was his first place Pencil Pushers Award. Well, he's done a pretty good job pushing the pencil, but he's also been someone that all of the undergraduates can look up to, especially me. I'm very happy to present this award to Scott Martin.
If Ted Ryu will come forward, we will present the Student Senate Academic Award. Ted is the Student Senate President.
Thank you, Dr. Long. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, on behalf of the Student Senate, I would like to relay a very sincere congratulations to each and every one of you on your graduation. You worked very hard and it's finally all paid off. So without any further ado, it gives me great pleasure this evening to present the Academic Achievement Award. All of us seniors and all of you who've gone through higher education know how difficult it is to remain consistent with your academic ability and academic achievement throughout all of your 4 years of college. You have the good semesters as well as the bad semesters, and it all comes out in the end hopefully good. But this particular student has been able throughout his 4 years at the university here to uphold and to maintain the highest possible level of academic integrity. And not only has he maintained this level, but he's also demonstrated within the university community his ability to serve the campus as a tutor, as a assistant to many of the professors, as a member of the student government, member of the student senate. He's also president of the senior class, as well as Board of Trustees representative. So many of you know who he is, but let me say, Chu Yu Shi, congratulations on your outstanding academic achievement.
Now we will have the UMFK Alumni Association Outstanding Senior Award presented by Scott Wazin, Alumni Association Director.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to have been asked to present this award. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. First of all, I will present the UMFK Alumni Association Outstanding Senior Award. The UMFK Alumni Association Outstanding Senior Award, I can't even read tonight, is based on an individual's contribution to UMFK life and academics throughout his or her career at UMFK. He or she should be actively involved and interested in our campus, in good academic standing, and has made a difference or has had an impact while attending UMFK. Well, when you talk about impact, you cannot argue that this student has not made one. Her selfless contributions to UMFK include being station manager at WUFK, UMFK's new and improved radio station. She has all hip and no hype. She was successful in getting the operations, funding, and staff of the station off the ground and running. In addition, she contributed a phenomenal amount of expert student writing to the Bengal Review, UMFK's newspaper, and stood strong for the interest of all the students of this campus. She has also completed 3 semesters of coursework in 1 year while balancing her part-time job in her family's video store and her position as an outstanding lead singer in a band called White Knuckles. Zombie, zombie. What is most unbelievable is that she has managed to do this in just 1 year at UMFK. It is my great pleasure to present the UMFK Alumni Association Outstanding Senior Award. Oh, that's a long name. Gotta work on that. To Lisa White. And I get to do 2. The next award I'll be presenting is actually a scholarship. It's the UMFK Alumni Association Tuition Scholarship. Each year, the UMFK Alumni Association selects a student to receive a tuition scholarship. The selection is based on academic standing and a written essay. This year's recipient is a student in strong academic standing, working towards her bachelor's degree in business, something that I would never even dream of doing. Bradridge is real happy about that. She has made numerous contributions to this campus by way of being a student senator, an ace, and a member of the UMFK orientation team. She has also been highly successful as a business intern in the Office of Student Financial Aid, where she has also been a work study for 4 years. Now, I would like it to be known that I was in no way involved with the selection of the recipient of this award. This presentation is not fixed, so no screams from the audience. But it does give me a great pleasure to present the 1996 UMFK Alumni Association Tuition Scholarship to my baby sister, Nikki Bazin.
Scott? The CRC Freshman Chemistry Achievement Award will be presented by Ramin Aryana, Associate Professor of Chemistry. Ramin?
Good evening. Every year we are presenting two awards to two outstanding chemistry students. And to make it short, sometimes I ask my students, do you know any old chemistry student? I have not seen a student who remember old chemistry faculty, because simply either they die by chemicals or they get killed by students. So really, being in a top position, everything goes wrong, and there is one person to be blamed in that faculty, and you have to deal with everything. But I have a good news for chemistry faculty. If you have a couple of very, very good, intelligent students in your class, then there is hope for you. And I am going to introduce a couple of very good, intelligent students that I have kept my sanity because of them. One of the very, very excellent student that I always was pleased to see him in class is, I present to you, Paul Edberg. The next very hard-working, sincere student, the one I would like to introduce her to you tonight is Peggy Neff.
And Ramin will now present the Associated Faculties of the University of Maine Fort Kent Chapter Scholarship. Ramin?
I hope everybody is familiar with the word AFN. This faculty union, among a lot of good things, zillions of good things it does. Of course, tonight we don't talk about that thing. Presenting some scholarship to students who are out of the state of Maine. And tonight I'm going to introduce three very, very good students, excellent students, and each of them I can talk probably about 2 nights about them, how good they are. These awards usually students being selected from among all students on campus because of their scholarship and their achievement in their classwork, their participation in campus and community work, and also because of their service to their own colleagues and fellow classmates. Based on these criteria, we have selected 3 individuals that I would like to spend just a couple of words, say a couple of words for each of them. All of you know that Professor Daigle this semester came up with an illness, and I could see in everybody's face when heavy load of lower Daigle was to be taught by different people, and I could see kind of panic among our colleagues how these heavy load can be handled while lower is done. Of course, a lot of people helped out, but one person played key role, and we have to admire this person. I don't know if this award will actually acknowledge the important role that she played while Lowell was absent. And this is not just only contribution that this student has done to campus. There are other contributions, including being outstanding student. I would like to introduce to you Lois Burgoyne. There is another student who is very special. I talked to his professor. One common statement comes from everybody. This student, after being away from school for many years, being successful in business, and coming back to school, taking heavy load, and still he can manage I have to repeat Professor Zimmer-Buscher's word that he absorbed everything in class and he gets excited about every single subject. And he's so excited about subject that the professor says he makes us excited about our job. I would like to introduce to you Mr. Roy Parry. The last person who received the Alphen Scholarship Award is a person who does not need introduction. I believe he does not introduction within a radius of probably 500 miles around us. And everybody knows him. He comes to almost everybody and advises everybody how to run their business. And he does good. And he does good to me, at least. I know how to teach chemistry, how to be a good faculty. And he does a lot of good service he has done to faculty and university as a whole. And I think this is an individual that UMFK will remember for many years to come. I would like to introduce Mr. Chu Shi.
We have Mary Joan Pelletier, Senior Class Secretary, will come forward. She will present the Senior Class Award for Outstanding Faculty.
This faculty member has been at the university since 1969 and has served the last 11 years in the capacity of a full-time professor. She has served 2.5 consecutive years as division chair. Her fast-paced and engaging courses keep students on track and hungry for more knowledge. Not only is this person an outstanding professor, but she's conscientious about her work outside the classroom as well. Her work with different student organizations has been greatly admired and appreciated by many. She is responsible for single-handedly organizing and staging the Alpha induction every fall semester. In my 3 years as an Alpha member, this has been the highlight of each fall semester. It has been an honor to be able to work side by side with her on many different projects. This is not the first time that this professor has been given this award. Through her persistence and hard work, Professor Loldig has again earned the title of Outstanding Faculty of the Year.
Not my mother. My mother calls me Sandra. I would like to bestow an award on an outstanding student. Actually, I'm not the person who should be doing this. Dorothy Hopkins is the person who has really worked hard with this particular student. She's very proud of this student, and I would like to read some words that Dorothy wrote about this student. When I first met the student, I recognized him as a top-notch thinker who was a very poor writer. As happened all too frequently, he had gotten to the college level without ever learning to write. Moreover, this person's frustrations about writing had created a serious writer's block. For someone who's working on the college level in all areas except one, it can be terribly frustrating to get back to very basic material in that one subject. Although he passed Composition 1, this student knew that he was not a proficient writer, so he volunteered to take writing skills. He struggled through the semester, doubting all the while that he was making any progress. Another semester of help in academic and counseling services, coupled with Composition 2 from Heather Tapley, produced significant progress. Finally, this student himself began to realize that he was turning into a writer. Occasionally, during this past year, this student has passed along research papers that he had written for other courses so that I can read them. Now I read them for pleasure and for information contained in them. Paul Edberg is a real writer now, who writes clearly, coherently, and concisely. It's my pleasure to give the Academic and Counseling Services Award to Paul Edberg for his
The Society of Alpha Chi Award will be presented by Professor of Mathematics and bon vivant, John Ellen.
Where I get to do the other half. I was wondering why Bill Woodman hasn't already quoted Shakespeare. ZB or not ZB? Each year, our main day chapter of Alpha Chi Honor Society presents an award to a student member, usually a senior, who has significantly contributed to the society. The recipient this year has always been willing and able to help in planning, organizing, coordinating, and carrying out various activities and events sponsored by the Society. Whether it be helping to set a book sale, organizing a forum, or making preparations for students to attend a national conference, this student is there to lend a helping hand and a willing spirit. I'm pleased to present the Alpha Chi Award this year to Mary Pelletier. was just wondering if anyone anticipated that, and you did.
John? We're a team. The Hubert J. Thibodeau Award will be presented by Terry Murphy, Associate Professor of Education. Terry?
Thank you, Dr. White. Good evening. Each year at the awards banquet, the Teacher Education Council recognizes two of its former faculty members, now retirees, lucky them, by designating awards in their honor. These former professors are Hubert J. Thibodeau and Joan T. Sylvain. As you are able to see from your program, the Hubert J. Thibodeau Award is first to be given. The Hubert J. Thibodeau Award is given to an individual who is a junior, a top student scholastically, and shows promise as an excellent future teacher. The deliberation did not last long when deciding this year's recipient. This year's recipient of the Hubert J. Thibodeau Award is Lori Ann Sear.
The second of the awards, the Outstanding Future Teacher Award. That's not the second of the awards that you are referring to. Pardon me. The Outstanding Future Teacher Award will be presented by Marguerite Terrell, Assistant Professor of Education and conductor of multi-voice choruses.
It is my pleasure tonight to announce the Outstanding Future Teacher Award. I was very fortunate to have this young woman in my French class last year and heard nothing but constant rave reviews during her student teaching. She did her student teaching at Eagle Lake, and her mentor teacher was Teresa Pelletier. For you this evening, I would like to read, paraphrase what Teresa wrote for her in her letter of recommendation. This student teacher is an educational treasure. I hope our school, or at least a school, will be fortunate enough to be enriched by her intellect, intuitiveness, creativity, and sensitivity in dealing with children. If my only child were to be taught by her, I would have absolutely no worries. I could trust her judgment, expect timely homeschool communication, believe that school problems were being solved in a fair way, and know that my child was receiving an exceptional, challenging education. I have faith in her determination to give our profession a good name. She cares about the quality of education, and she cares about the feelings of children. The Outstanding Future Teacher Award recipient is Lori Roy.
In the pause between this award and the next, I might encourage those sitting near windows to open them. It appears that several people are taking a chill. If you are sitting near a window, please open it.
It's indeed a pleasure for me to have been asked to present this award. I did this last year, and I thought this year is especially important since this will be my last semester, last year at UMFK. This award is presented by a department that is charged with the responsibility of training people for the mother of all professions, the teaching profession. Teaching can be a very daunting and frustrating task sometimes. especially if you have students returning assignments late, students who don't come to class on time. Some of us don't come to class on time. Students who are not very cooperative, students who want to give out a list but expect the most. But there are times when you think of other students, you just want to get up from your bed and come to school. Because these are the kinds of students that are diligent, they are serious, helpful, and very much dedicated. The recipient of this award is an embodiment of all these laudable qualities. The student is diligent, serious, very competitive, but at the same time very helpful to others who need help. There are times when I thought we had 3 or 4 of these students running around. They are everywhere. I'm talking about no other person than Mary Joan Pelletier. High scholastic ability, and more importantly, your very congenial work attitude in both places. And if you allow, please remember, this goes to everybody who is accept every child in that class as an asset, not as a liability, regardless of their abilities and disabilities. For in the confines of your very first classroom, there may be sitting a modern Rousseau, a Pestalozzi, a Maria Montessori, a future president of the United States or Canada. Cure for some of the most dreadful diseases that afflict the humankind. Therefore, we should give every opportunity to every child, accept each child as an asset. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful experience being here for the past 2 years. And 3 years in the state of Maine. It's been tough leaving your folks back home in Maryland and being there. Sometimes my friends in Washington feel I'm crazy to be out here. But I know God had a purpose for me to be here. They say the human beings were like flowers. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to pollinate in your garden. I think I have sown some seeds. Please, as I leave, nourish those seeds so that we can have a diversity of flowers in this community garden. Thank you very much.
And now the second of the awards, Professor of Education, Terry Method, the Joan T. Sylvain Award.
Thank you, Ali Mama, for those words of wisdom. I'm back. It's time to name the recipient of the Joan T. Sylvain Award. Joan is the second former professor of education for whom an award has been named. The Joan T. Sylvain Award is given to an individual who is completing a second baccalaureate degree, who maintained an outstanding academic record, demonstrated outstanding campus citizenship, and had an outstanding student teaching experience. This year's recipient is Lise Morgan.
The Roland A. Burns Award in Arts and Humanities will be presented by Arts and Humanities Division Chair Robert Shibora.
On March 5th, 1985, I ran into Roland Burns in Sear Hall in the lobby, and I said to him, "It's our anniversary today." And he said, "Oh, yours and Pam's?" And I said, "No, yours and mine." And he looked at me kind of strangely. "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Well, it was a year ago today that you called me and invited me to interview for this position." I said, "Well, congratulations." Well, if an institution can be imprinted on a person, Roland Burns was the agent through which UMFK has become a part of my life, and my whole association with this campus begins with Roland Burns. And when I arrived here in the fall of 1984, I soon discovered that it was he who personified UMFK, and no one worked harder for this campus than Roland. As an administrator, he was a visionary, always filled with new ideas. He was a problem solver, undaunted by the complexities of administrating higher education. He invariably found a way to solve problems. As a colleague, he was an inspiration, and to me, he instilled the confidence necessary to take on a difficult task. He was a tough and fearless leader when he needed to be, but he was one who was capable of shedding a tear and growing weak in the knees in the face of an inspired couplet or two. He was a caring teacher, one who left many of our graduates in his debt. He is a writer, a poet, an artist, a scholar, an athlete, and a friend, and I can think of no finer distinction than to be the recipient of an award from this institution bearing the name of Roland Burns. The Roland Burns Award in the Arts and Humanities recognizes a graduating senior who has distinguished herself or himself in the area of arts and humanities. And this year's recipient is Scott Markey.
The Performing Arts Award will be presented by Assistant Professor of Theater Terry Wonder.
Good evening. Tough crowd. I didn't get a chance to speak with CB before I came up here, so I will be speaking my full 15 minutes, so go ahead, Bill, I'll take the lead. I'd like to start out by giving a commercial. As we say in Kansas, God willing and the creeks don't rise, we will have summer theater here at UMFK. UMFK this summer. I hope to do a melodrama if I can get enough people involved. And we'll be starring Heather Tapley of all people, so do come out for that, all right? I'm up here tonight to give an award to one of our students who has done some outstanding work in theater or performing arts, whatever you choose to call it. And this person has performed in both shows this year, and has come a long way in the last 2 years since I've known him. I've watched him grow as an artist, do some incredible things. As a matter of fact, make a fool of me on occasion, which is not hard to do, but nevertheless he does it. I'm going to try to push him in the future to go into graduate school and be a voice and diction teacher, because I have a feeling that he has what it takes to pursue that. And if you know anything about theater, we do need these kind of people out here. So I'm very happy tonight to give the award to Dwayne Guyon.
The Grindle Award will be presented by Roger Parody, Professor of History.
This award is named after a fellow I had the pleasure of serving with for a good many years, and who would have been undoubtedly named state historian if the Grim Reaper had not snatched it away from us prematurely. On a different note, a colleague from the Math Science Division, who shall remain nameless, likes to say of history that there's no future in history. However, my rejoinder would be that if we don't learn from history, there will not be a future. As long as there are people like the recipient of this award, I think that there's reason for all of us to hope. The award reads, given in recognition of academic excellence and expected future contributions within the area of social sciences, awarded at Fort Kent, Maine, this 10th day of May in the year 1996. This goes to Robin Raymond.
I suspect that that nameless faculty member from the natural and behavioral sciences may have the initials of John Elliott. It has his stamp about it. The Floyd Red Powell Scholarship will be presented by James Killarney, Jim Killarney, Associate Professor of Psychology.
I know that when I touched the microphone, I got Bill a little bit nervous because the last time I picked up a microphone, it was over the Interactive Television Network, and I took the liberty of evaluating the Board of Trustees. Needless to say, he got a few phone calls on that. As Bill has made me sweat playing racquetball, now it's his chance to sweat a little bit right now. The Floyd Red Powell Award is given for academics and also for contributions to the community in the social science field. Guy, big heart, Frigide, is the recipient of this award. And as you can see, he is invisible, non-existent. He is not here tonight. But he is also from a non-existent people. He is French and also of Mi'kmaq descent. The French Acadians know all too well of not being part of the larger society. Over 200 years ago, the people, the Acadians, fled tyranny from the British, coming up the St. John Valley to settle, coming up the St. John River to settle this valley. Even today, the University of Maine at Fort Kent, whose mission is closely tied to a French Acadian heritage, is still battling the bureaucracy to stay alive. The Mi'kmaq side of Guy never had it so lucky. The Mi'kmaq are still an invisible people. Against all odds, finally, as a middle-aged man and as a medicine man of the Mi'kmaq Nation, he achieved his college degree. He not only achieved his diploma, he also carved the path for all other Native Americans and Native Canadians to gain power and respect through education. He also taught his fellow students, including faculty, much about humanity. His accomplishments here are numerous. He is graduating with honors. He has been deeply involved in campus activities. He was president of the Non-Traditional Students Club. He started the Non-Traditional Honor Society. He's been on the Student Senate, just to name a few. He's deeply involved in the life of our community, most notably the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, and many organizations for handicapped individuals. Currently, Guy is in Montreal, working with Native Americans. He right now has a job to establish substance abuse programs for the New England states, as well as Eastern Canada for Native tribes. I am pleased to present this award to my friend, with whom I will walk through all the fires this world has set before us. Hopefully, his accomplishments will open the eyes of the University of Maine system, now blinded by money, to the real purpose of education, to address human need. The award says the Floyd Red Powell Scholarship Award is presented to Guy J. L. Frigon, given to a social science major in recognition of academic promise, worthiness, and need. On your agenda, the next award we give out is the Behavioral Science Award. The behavioral sciences are the fields of psychology, anthropology, and sociology. We have 2 recipients for this award, and I will address each one separately. One of the recipients is a student who is the top academic student in the behavioral sciences. She has also completed an education major. The behavioral science major and the education majors are 2 of the most demanding majors at the university here, and she did them both. She's graduating magna cum laude with a grade point average of 3.8. This means she got all A's, but 1. I guess that's when he called his wife Sandra. She was doing great in that night. Lori's academic accomplishments, to be truly appreciated, need to be put into its proper perspective. Her major accomplishment is being a mother. While attending school, she raised her children and is raising them well, being involved in all aspects of their lives. She is also doing a pretty good job of raising her husband, Norm. Lori also, for most of her academic career, has been a working mom and student. I first met her about 14 years ago working with adults with severe and profound mental retardation. The quality of her work then, as now, was exceptional. Lori Roy, please come up. The second recipient of this award, I should not be giving this award out. Rather, teenage girls should. The most striking characteristic of this award recipient is his cuteness. If you would open up the pages of Teen or 17 magazine, this is where you should see this award recipient. Because of his involvement in basketball programs for youth in this area, he has become the male idol of all middle school girls in the St. John's area. Eric Balcello is not only cute, but he is also an outstanding scholar and young man. Academically, he is among the top scholars at the university, graduating magna cum laude. He has also been a member of the Bengals basketball team. For those of you who don't know, practices start after 9 o'clock at night and go to midnight, after these students attend classes and study. It's about time when most people go to bed, except for the education majors from Canada, which begin their party at 9 o'clock at night. Eric, as you all know, has also been very involved in all aspects of campus life. I think most importantly, he's been a very powerful role model for other students, both on and off campus. As my teaching assistant for 2 years, he independently coordinated study sessions and individual help sessions, and his assistance in this role is literally responsible not only for keeping many in college, but also helping them excel. His impact on fellow students and on area youth through basketball involvement, and his ability to attach to and work with young disadvantaged children, as evidence in working as Central Indian community, are characteristics which will serve Eric well and the people he works with through life. We are all very proud of you. Eric?
The Criminal Justice Award will be presented by Kurt Holzhausen, Assistant Professor of Psychology.
The Criminal Justice Award there's graduating seniors in different fields who meet the following criteria. They have to have a high GPA, have demonstrated an active interest in criminal justice, and be graduating seniors. As we were going over the candidates for this award, the choice was obvious. It was Jake Murphy.
The Forest Technology Award will be presented by Associate Professor of Forestry and Environmental Studies, David Hobbins, the man with the magic fingers.
Because they haven't been touched by the chainsaw. Well, my colleagues and I have decided to give 2 forestry awards this evening. And first of all, and I don't mean to speak about myself, but I have to tell you, after coming back from graduate school and 2 days, beginning the semester, 2 days after I got back, I was very fortunate to have an excellent group of students this past year who really, because of their hard work and enthusiasm, helped me make it through the year. So I'd like to congratulate all the graduates, and particularly I'd like to thank the forestry and environmental studies students who are graduating, and those who are not, but continuing with me. Thank you very much for helping me make it through a very busy year, as you know. About 2 weeks ago, I was not Professor Hobbins or Dave, I was Hot Top Hobbins, and the short, deaf, myopic forester. But as for the students, one student couldn't be here this evening. One student we would like to honor is Roger Johnstone, a retired engineer who came back for a forestry degree. And Roger, these students are chosen based on their academic prowess. So if you would, please congratulate Roger Johnstone. The second individual is here this evening, and this individual, in addition to academic prowess, also is exhibited an enthusiasm for learning, a love for learning, which encourages the professors. And I guess I can just say Grace, Amanda Barker.
The Mathematics Science Award will be presented by Stephen Selva, Professor of Biology and Environmental Studies.
The recipient of the Math Science Award is somebody y'all missed probably more than anybody else this year. He's been my assistant in the greenhouse for the last 4 years. I think back 4 years ago when I first learned he would be my work-study assistant, I told him his responsibility to be watering the greenhouse, taking care of the plants, running greenhouse sales, feeding the bird feeders on campus, and that was about all I had to do. For the last 4 years, everything's been running smoothly, and I don't even yet I have to go back and start doing it myself now. He's also accompanied me on some research field trips. He's been helping me the last 4 years also on research, lichen research. We've been tromping the woods of Vermont, New Hampshire, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and we also went to, I finagled a way to get him out to British Columbia last summer. One thing he did out there was collect a lichen, a stubble lichen, that neither he nor I knew what it was, and from what I understand, I'm going to be describing it as a new species this summer. And my intention is to call it Echinopsis edbergii. We also had some outstanding students in environmental studies, and we've selected also to give 2 awards this year. Thinking back on past awards, I don't think we've had a time where, in my mind, there's been 2 such outstanding candidates. They've both been excellent academically. They participated in academic or in activities of the Environmental Studies Club. The second Environmental Studies Award goes to a student who specialized in environmental law enforcement. We participated in a practicum that involved ride-alongs with local law enforcement and game wardens. And I think probably more than anybody I've known here knows more about wildlife than any student around.
PEG has informed me that we need to break from the program at this point for a second and ask Amanda Barker to come forward. She has a presentation to make.
I didn't think I'd have to be up here again tonight, and I didn't know that I was going to be up here until about 2 minutes ago. But we, as the Student Senate, we need to recognize someone who's been very vital to our Senate this year. And to do that, I'd like to ask all the senators that are here, if you could please come up and join me. Chu, Neptune, Eric. This year, our Student Senate president has been outstanding. He's led us to do several very successful events. I should say more than several. Any event that we've sponsored this year has gone very well, and it has been to his credit. He's gotten into some messes a couple of times, but we've gotten through them, and I think we're all much better people for it and much stronger. Our presentation is on the way through the door, so at least I hope so. Ted, thank you very much for all that you've done for the Senate this year. We'll definitely miss you next year.
Modern Technology. The Computer Applications Award will be presented by Ray Albert, Assistant Professor of Computer Science, not Commuter Science.
education class. Good evening to all of you. I couldn't let it pass. I noticed Professor Selva here just a few moments ago has managed to survive fairly well. His sabbatical this semester is reflected in his Alpha Union content. I couldn't let that pass. I have to say, first of all, that it was a very difficult decision this year. There was a number who has and continues to actively contribute to and promote the preservation of the unique St. John River Valley French language and culture. An outspoken advocate of the constitutional rights of free speech, particularly as employed in my class, and bearing of arms, fortunately not yet exercised in class, rights which this veteran has proudly fought to defend. A now retired brother of the Old Derelicts Motorcycle Club based in Southern Maryland, and who as a result of, quote, finally growing up and returning from a three-year stint in South Korea, decided 2 years ago to continue to pursue his educational aspirations here at the University of UMFK. A person who may be characterized as being very self-directed and having a tremendous zeal for accomplishing what some believe to be impossible. He is tonight rightfully being recognized for his truly exceptional academic standing and overall potential for future growth and development in the computer applications area. It is with great pleasure that I now present to you as the 1996 Computer Applications Award recipient, Mr. Tony Crash Gomez. Makes his way back to his seat. I'd also like to take a moment to also point out that he's been accepted and soon will be commencing graduate studies, graduate computer science studies at the University of Maine, and was competitively selected as a graduate research assistant to participate in cutting-edge research focusing on undersea distributed computing environments, for lack of another term. For those who may be interested in learning more about Crash, you can afford to visit his home page.
Presented by Bradley Ritz, Associate Professor of Business and Economics. Bradley?
Makes me sound so funny. The Business Award, when we get ready to select, is based upon academic achievement and the promise of significant contribution to the profession. The two students that have been selected tonight, normally you pick one, but I got to looking and I looked at the GPA and the scores were not statistically significantly different. Very difficult. Well, let's look at their internships, because all the business students have to serve at least one semester of business, and well, this right, we'll be able to tell the two apart. I'll pick one. But again, both of their internship sponsors evaluate these people as glowing participants in their business and the organization within which they are employed or own at some point in time. And I thought that is probably very descriptive of these two individuals. So tonight I would like to recognize Robin Raymond and Chu Yushi as the
Nursing Student Award will be presented by Division Chair Vince Pelletier. Vin.
One of the things that I wanted to mention this evening for the nursing faculty is extremely difficult. When you think about it, sit back and say, which one student is outstanding? Because you got to remember, we're all getting older, we all have accidents. And we certainly wouldn't want to end up in the emergency room. And look up and say, see the former student look down at you and go, you didn't say we were outstanding. So all of our students we feel are outstanding, competent, and we love you all. Two of our students no better way to call them, but they're peas in a pod. You can never get them separated. I don't know what the husbands say. In fact, one of the students last night made some comments about long nights. She didn't clarify that. But. In fact, that sometimes I think throughout this year I saw the two of them more in the Division of Nursing than most of the faculty or even the secretary.
Be presented to Michael Joseph Saucier, who is not able to be with us this evening. Could we have a round of applause? The Faculty Academic Achievement Award will be presented by Faculty Chair John Martin.
Thank you, Bill. Each year, the Faculty Award is given to the outstanding student academically. And yes, it is not a secret tonight. To you.
It's my turn. I have two awards to give. The first of them, the Associate of Arts Academic Achievement Award. And before the banquet this evening, I did a little research about this person and found out that I really didn't need to. This person has already been described in terms better than perhaps I could, and I would like to recall at this point Lois Burgoyne. Was a tough decision for me. Several members of the graduating class will remain with me, perhaps for the rest of my life. It's been a very special class with some people who are models in every way, consistent in their work, scholars, community citizens. I had to choose one, and so the recipient is Scott Marquis. Scott has had the distinct pleasure of being in several of my classes. He might not have found it so, but I certainly found it a pleasure having him in class. Thank you, Scott. And now, to the Presidential Awards for Academic Excellence, Dr. Dumas. David Hobbins, Associate Professor of Forestry and Environmental Studies, the guy standing right there.
The Pinkham family established a scholarship in honor of Thomas Pinkham's lifelong dedication to forestry. And as you know, the St. John Valley is probably more forested now than it has been in, for sure, Professor Parody, at least a century, if not a century and a half. He's questioning you. Okay. Thank you. And we are, at the university, are very grateful to the Pinkham family for this scholarship. And this year, the way the scholarship reads is for a student who demonstrates excellence in forestry. He established a track record. There is this individual continues to amaze me, how he's always one step ahead of me, Peter Eldridge. And I just mentioned that this is a $1,000 scholarship. Thank you. Real quick.
I will forever hang my head.
Thank you, Bill. Let me give you a little background for those of you who are not aware. I guess it was 4 or 5 years ago, a group of staff members decided that they wanted to have a party for me. I've been 25 years in the legislature, and I said no, because I didn't think it was appropriate and I didn't want one. And they finally convinced me about a year and a half of lobbying, and I made the agreement on one condition, that the money that was generated from the dinner would be going to scholarships. The net result was that it generated about $55,000 that went to the scholarship account. Part of the condition that I set at the time was that $1,000 each year would be given for a scholarship, in particular for someone who would work the summer on the Allagash River. Amanda Barker was the one who was there last year, probably should be making the award at this time. But she started the summer, and I can recall when she first went. And then later in August, I was there, and she was taking care of that canoe, taking my stuff up and down the river and having a great time. And she spent the entire summer. The result, of course, is part of the program as well, is that the student works for the Allagash Waterway during the summer months. This year.
Okay, now President Dumont for the Presidential Awards for Academic Excellence.
Merci Bill. Bonsoir tout le monde. Bonsoir. Nous avons un soir très spécial, une célébration très spéciale, oui. Voulez-vous chanter encore avec professeur Terreau et ses étudiants et étudiantes la Tom Song?
It's always a very special pleasure to present the Presidential Award for Academic Excellence. You know, in this world, there are a number of ways that you can get to certain goals in a whole variety of different ways if you're ingenious. Elizabeth Leidy Fumier. Our second recipient, Scott Markey. Tom Martin. It's a new dance. Mary Pelletier. Eric Elasillo. The next award is always reserved for the last very special place in our program. The Hensler Fellowship is awarded in memory
of a University of Maine at Fort Kent student who graduated with the class of 1982, and in September of that same year, met an untimely and a tragic death. His parents, in the year 1983, Mr. and Mrs. Verna Hensler, established the fellowship in memory of their son, Robert. The fellowship is awarded to a student, a graduating senior who has shown courage in overcoming all obstacles in achieving high academic standing. It's a pleasure to give it this evening to give the award to Shu Yu-Shi.
Now, the president expects for me to hand the mic back to him at this point so he can make some closing remarks. I have been instructed by she who must be obeyed to turn the mic over to Tony Gavin.
Thank you. The class of 1996 would like to take a moment now to honor somebody who has provided the University of Maine with a strong vision in these very difficult economic times. In the past 7 years, President Dr. Duma has been instrumental in defining a new future for this campus. His leadership, insight, and genuine care for the quality of education will be missed by all these students. As a token of our appreciation and your service, we'd like to give you a free weekend, a big massage for you and your wife, and this plaque. Thank you.
By this recognition. This is a very emotional time for me, actually. This is the last of these events that I shall be having the honor to attend and to participate in as your president. I want to tell you that it's been the highlight of my professional career to serve this great institution of higher learning. The student body here is outstanding. You couldn't ask for a better faculty. The staff is caring and dedicated, and I couldn't have asked for better colleagues, more support and cooperation throughout my presidency. I thank you all most sincerely for that. A lot of people deserve some thanks for this event this evening. I want to thank Bill Willen for his superb job as Master of Ceremonies, as usual. Lisa Fournier, thank you, Lisa. I know you worked very hard to make this happen. Annette Grant, where's Annette? I remember one year I did this and I got her name wrong. You'll never forget that, will you? Lucy Beaulieu, where's Lucy? Thanks, Lucy. And Fran Picard, Joy Nadeau, and she who must be obeyed, Peggy Bard, the mastermind. She's been working on this for months, and that's why it went so well. I'd like to certainly thank Peter Merritt, our new ARA director, and the ARA staff for putting on this fabulous fee for us this evening. I want to thank the students who volunteered to serve the coffee, and including Diane, that associate who I saw making the rounds. It's extraordinary what that woman does for this institution. Physical plant employees who helped get this set up this evening. Professor John Elliott, the punster, John Martin. John, I found your remarks very inspirational. I think every citizen of this country should. I'm also a fan of the Foppers. Bob Shagora, Bob at the piano, and certainly all of the presenters. You can tell that it's a chore that everybody takes very seriously and that they enjoy doing. Chuck Flosser, and Dave Pobbins at the banjo. Scott was in. Professeur Tarol avec les chanseurs de la classe. And certainly, please join me in giving one final round of applause for all of our award recipients and for our graduating seniors. And that concludes our program this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.